Marty Supreme is an American film that comes out on Christmas Day, 2025.
Depending on when you're watching this might still be happening. And Timothee Chalamet is absolutely everywhere you turn. But he's not just campaigning for an Oscar. There's another reason he's doing all of this.
Marty Supreme, Christmas Day. Marty Supreme, dream big. Marty Supreme, Christmas Day.
And you're either in one of two camps. You either find this all to be annoying or you probably don't care at all. But the truth is, it's not for you. Any of it. At all. And that's because the Academy Awards, the Oscars, are completely broken. And in some ways, designed that way on purpose.
In May, an American institution was introduced.
The first Oscars was held here almost 100 years ago. And it lasted 15 minutes. And now we live in a world where interviews about the Oscars last longer. And that's what we have here. And every year before this, the Oscars campaign. Oscars aren't just being won, they're also being paid for. And if you haven't seen most of the movies nominated, it's because the Oscar genre, dramas, accounted for just 7% of ticket sales in 2025. But still, Hollywood spends between $100 and $500 million annually on these Oscar campaigns, with single movies spending as much as $20 million, not on the film, but on this. Yeah, that's Timothee Chalamet on top of the Sphere promoting a movie. And if he seems very committed, it's because he is. But it's not because he just wants a trophy. There's a bigger prize. According to BBC, a Best Actor Oscar win boosts the pay for the winner on future movies by almost $4 million a movie. You might be up here too for $4 million more every time you show up to work. But I mentioned before that this is not for you. This whole thing. It's for a secret society of people, which sounds like more of a joke than it actually is. And this is where the Oscars breaks down further. So how exactly does Oscars voting work? Well, there's almost 10,000 voters. Who are they? You'll never know. It's a secret. What we do know is they're not the public. So how do you become a voter? Well, you don't apply. You have to work in the industry. And then you have to be sponsored. As Brainstuff explained it, 2 members of the committee in your field have to invite you in. So if you're an actor, 2 actors, a director, 2 directors, and so on. Or you can get nominated for an Oscar. That's at least automatic consideration. But neither of those 2 things are enough. You then have to get an endorsement from your specific field's committee. That's right, a subcommittee. Then you finally get to the Board of Governors, who has the final say. And if they're in a good mood, you then finally become an insider and a voter. But all those movies that you haven't seen that get nominated every year, yeah, well, the truth is, those voters probably haven't seen them either. That's right, you don't have to watch the movies to vote. You just have to fill out the survey that gets sent to you. And that voting process is so complicated that a firm, PricewaterhouseCoopers, is needed to do the data analysis required to siphon down the actual nominees. But what does this mean? 2 things. 1, the Academy is very much Hollywood voting for Hollywood. Its taste and the people within it, while theoretically qualified, means that the Oscars will never be representative of the way the average person sees movies, for better or for worse. That's why it's dominated by dramas, art house films, and the same pool of directors and actors. It is in some ways a self-fulfilling prophecy. And becoming an Oscars voter becomes just as much about the prestige of being one as it does actually wanting to watch the movies you're voting on. But 2, and this matters far more, it means this can become more important than the movie itself. And it might already be. And as you're about to see, things break down even further.
No, there's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won. Come on, this is not a joke.
This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong thing.
323 movies were Oscar eligible last year. It is safe to say that in all likelihood, 90% of Oscar voters haven't seen 323 movies of any kind this year. That's a lot. And this is where another gray area pops up. The Oscar consultant. BBC covered this a decade ago, but these are publicists who have access to the voters and are paid to get movies in front of them. It's against Academy rules to directly call or email to gain votes, but turns out gifts, totally okay. So just toss more money around. There's belief that these publicists may even do stealth smear campaigns online against other nominees to get one movie votes over another. That's right, like this.
And that one doesn't sound good.
But these gigantic, curated, pruned Oscar campaigns, I think, are much more damning to the whole process. And this isn't the fault of the actors. Again, they stand to make life-changing money by winning Best Actor, even if it's not always life-changing for them. It's the studios who view all of this as a race to prestige in an industry they're running into the ground. On screen right now are the amount of nominations each of these movies has for the 2026 Oscars. As Bloomberg pointed out recently, that means that just these movies account for 64 nominations. 6 movies account for over 50% of the big name nominations. For reference, 20 years ago, an average of 18 movies received at least 2 nominations. So why is this happening? Well, the Oscars focus on prestige pictures on a specific kind of movie creates this reality. Remember when The Dark Knight wasn't nominated for Best Picture? Well, look what happens when Chris Nolan makes a drama.
And may I see Oppenheimer?
Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer.
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 As much as the Academy wants you to believe they've adjusted, the truth is the numbers don't really support that. Sure, it's great to see Sinners up there for Best Picture and hopefully a winner in some of its categories, and there has been a push to diversify the kinds of films nominated, but not a huge change in the kind of films that win the big awards. With some exceptions, of course. 2026's Oscar nominees across the board are the least financially successful films domestically on average in over a decade. So yes, there are more big movies up there, but the Oscars are so top-heavy right now because studios are releasing 30% less movies a year than they were 2 decades ago. And less dramas. Like I pointed out earlier, with less prestige pictures, there are less movies nominated. This very much exposes the reality of what the Oscars is at its core. A race to make the most Oscars-y movie for the Oscars. It's a popularity contest, but only amongst the kids who are already cool and the kids with the money.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much.
In 2014, 43 million people watched the Oscars. In 2025, 18 million. That's not a stellar trend. So how do we fix all of this? Fix the Academy Awards? Well, the reality is that a system built this much around exposure instead of the art, around campaigns as opposed to the movies, where stuff like this is even happening, probably needs a significant revamp. Even if you argue that this is also done to promote the movie in theaters, Marty Supreme brought in less than $100 million domestically. You'll have a tough time convincing me that all this money spent was just about selling more tickets to a prestige film. That math doesn't add up. A new rule for this year states that members must watch all films in a category to vote. But turns out you can just check a box and not watch it on the Academy's screening service or watch it at all. It's an honor system, one a journalist recently discovered was not working, and that some voters admitted to doing things like literally letting movies play on mute just to say they technically watched it. And of course, I've seen a lot of the suggestions that maybe 50% of the votes come from the fans or the public, like the NBA's All-Star voting. So the people actually paying to see the movies and not being invited to screenings or being sent press DVDs get a vote too. That's an idea that has its own problems, as the NBA has seen, but the fact that that doesn't sound completely ridiculous means this system as it exists has maybe run its course. And the truth is, the Academy has no interest in letting you decide what movies are good. And that's because the reality is, just like this, maybe the Oscars isn't for us, and maybe the industry likes it that way. To me, the Oscars seem broken. But to the Oscars, maybe it's exactly what it's supposed to be. I'm Dewey, and that's it for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, press that like button down below and hit subscribe so you don't miss anything coming to the channel. And press that little notification bell that just actually notifies you when an episode comes out. And this has been